short men are posting, "I've prayed for times like these," all over the internet. The great shift is here. Women finally won us. And every manlet is celebrating.
5'7" and 5'7" is a new 6 foot.
Yeah!
So I did some digging. I watched every clip I could find of women talking about this shift. And what I found isn't that they're all lying, though many are. It's worse than that. A few of these women are being totally genuine. But here's the thing nobody's saying out loud. Not one of these women lust after short guys the same way most other women lust after tall ones. You think these great shift ladies are at home looking up short guy erotica? Hell no. The only time women would do that is if it's about a tall guy asserting dominance over him. The great shift isn't the shift so many men think it is. Let me show you what I mean. But first I'll show you the clip that started it all.
I'll never forget when I was in the club trying to mind my business and the tallest dude in the club wanted to approach me. And so I said, "How tall are you?" He said, like 6'4", 6'5". And I said, "Oh no, you too tall for me." He said, "Too tall?" I ain't never heard no girl say that to me before. And I said, "Yeah, you're too tall. I am 5'2". You are way too tall. He said, "Oh, well, we the same size in bed." Excuse me? I'm 5'2". I don't even like being with dudes over 5'10". I want to be comfortable when I'm with my partner. I want to be comfortable when I'm walking. I want to be comfortable in every type of position. Talked about in the bed. Okay, but what about when we standing up? What about when we walking and you trying to hold my hand and my hand is up here and your hand is down here? It's uncomfortable. I don't have time for that. I don't.
That was the lady who started it all, the whole great shift. Apparently, there are women in the world who don't want a guy over 6 feet tall. But you have to look at the reasons that they gave as to why. And the question we ask ourselves is, does that mean that they specifically lust after short guys? Or is there some other logic at play here? And that's the main question I'm going to dive into in this video. Now, this Kool-Aid gal reminds me a lot of my grandma. And here's why. My grandma has always told me that she never liked guys that were too tall, that she never really thought about or cared about height. And she's a pretty short woman. She said she once dated a guy who was like around the same height as her, and she thought he was attractive. So I always thought, is she just trying to help me cope? But I came to the conclusion that she's just part of a very, very small minority of women that don't care for extremely tall men. She actually told me she rejected a guy who was like 6'5" that wanted her. And it's like, damn, that's highly unusual. And I told her that, she must just be an extreme outlier. But it appears that with this great shift trend, a lot of these extreme outliers have come out of the woodwork and they've said their piece. But the question is, how many of them are being genuine and how many of them are just riding the trend for views? And if you look at the reactions in the comments, it appears that most of the people reacting to this video, commenting, interacting with it, they're almost all men. Whereas when I've always studied the posts of women obsessing over tall guys, most of the people in the comments were other women. If that doesn't clue you in on something, I don't know what will. That said, there are a number of women in the comments supportive of this opinion. Not many, but there's a handful. And the other question we have to ask ourselves is, with this great shift, is it really that a ton of women are suddenly deciding that guys that are too tall are no longer attractive to them and they prefer a guy around their height? Or is it just that very small minority of women who already felt that way coming out of the woodwork to share their piece? I'd like to hear your thoughts about that in the comments. But one thing I noticed about all the female supporters in the comments of these types of videos is that they're either very short women or very tall women. Now, to see very tall women thinking like that, that really does make me feel good. It gets me excited, thinking that, I might have a chance someday. But before we get ahead of ourselves, it's important to reel back and realize that women not liking a guy who's too tall is not the same as the women lusting after tall guys in reverse. And one of the things supporting my idea that this is just an extremely small minority of women coming out of the woodwork and a few others trying to ride the trend is that when I was looking through trying to find posts related to the Great Shift, the vast majority of content under this hashtag was short men reacting to it or tall guys lamenting it, not women actually doing it. Now, here's the main reason why I believe that this great shift is complete and utter cope. No woman is fetishizing short men like other women fetishize tall men. Those women who lust after tall men, they do it because they've fully embraced their femininity. They want to see themselves as small and vulnerable and in need of protection and being provided for. They want to be the little spoon, to be protected, and to look up to a big, tall, strong man with broad shoulders that they can call daddy, and immerse themselves in this dominant, submissive role-play fantasy scenario. Basically the same thing I want to do with tall women. And that's the main reason why so many women are more than happy to date ugly, tall men over handsome, average-sized men or short men. Because tall men are rare enough, they can't be picky over things like face. When you've got a fetish for being towered over and dominated by someone much larger and more powerful than you, of course, you're going to value that over and above everything else. And I actually talked about why height is overwhelmingly more important than face in one of my recent videos, Why Height Matters More Than Face. I'll link that in the description. So are these women posting under this Great Shift hashtag, are they suddenly fetishizing short men that same way? Well, let's think about it. Are they thinking, oh, I want to be tall and powerful and dominant, and I want a cute, petite, little, weak, effeminate manlet that I can protect and provide for? You think they're thinking that? Hell no. I mean, there might be a few women in the world that feel that way. I sure hope there are, because I want them. But no, that's not what's happening here. It's not the short man equivalent of the tall guy fetish. Not in the slightest. What this is women who prioritize face over height. You know, the women with the tall guy fetish, like I said, they value that over everything, and that's why they would date a tall, ugly guy over a shorter, handsome guy. But do you think that these women that like short kings would date an ugly short guy over a handsome, tall, or average height guy? Absolutely not. Because this isn't about liking short men. This is about that small minority, maybe 5 to 10% of women out there, most of whom are bisexual or pansexual, coming out of the closet, so to speak. You know, speaking out against the overwhelming consensus among women that height is everything. And a lot of these women have felt a little intimidated by the idea of going against the grain socially, because they would be completely surrounded by people who think that they're crazy, you know? But they don't lust after short height. They just accept it. Tolerance is not the same as desire. Now let's actually look over a few of the content pieces here that I saved. And here you have a perfect example of what I'm saying. They are tolerating short men, not preferring them. I mean, this woman says it herself. She considers herself part of the Great Shift because so many of these Great Shift women are just like her.
What kills me about you guys just discovering short kings as if they were like fucking fossils underground, like what kills me about that is that you guys are very late to the party. I'm not, though. You think I'm gonna run into a tall Latino man 5'10" and up in fucking Los Angeles, California, where I'm born and raised? That doesn't exist out here, brother. And if it does, I've never fucking seen it with my own 2 eyes. I have no fucking choice but to date the short fuckers. I don't have a choice. Like, I don't.
Did you hear what she said? I gotta take what I can get. So she's literally saying that she goes for short men because that's all she can find. But the reality is, she's not going after them because she wants them. If a tall Latino man was around her area, she would prefer him. So this is total bullshit. This whole thing is such cope. But yeah, women aren't shifting to suddenly like short guys. This clip here is a great example of how the vast majority of women feel about this whole great shift bullshit.
Excuse me. Did you know I'm 5'7"?
I did.
Yeah. That's like the new 6 foot.
5'7"? You're single. I'm sure you're a nice person.
Now here we got this COPIUM addict trying to tell us that 5'7" is a new 6'2", coming up and talking to this girl on the street. Now let's hear what she has to say.
5'7" is like the new 6 foot. Have you heard that yet?
No,
You haven't?
that's not the truth.
It is the truth.
Who have you been talking to?
Everybody, you just didn't get the update yet. That's what it is. Yeah.
You hear that, guys? Immediately, right off the bat, someone who has no idea what the great shift is, completely saying that it's bullshit. Because that's the reality. There is no great shift, and there never was.
Would you let someone that's 5'7" crack?
I think unfortunately, yeah.
Did you hear what she had to say? Unfortunately. If women are suddenly preferring short guys, then why is it an unfortunate thing that she's willing to tolerate the fact that you're not 6'2"? It just reiterates what I said at the beginning. This is about tolerating short men, not embracing them. Do you really think that if a 6'5" guy came around and wanted to get with her when she was with this 5'7" guy, that she wouldn't immediately split off and take advantage of that rare opportunity? Of course she would. Now this guy here is like the biggest coper on my list.
There's going to be a great shift for short men. They're going to become a hot commodity. You just got to look at the push and pull, right? Cycles. History repeats itself constantly. Me and all the other great internet philosophers have come to this conclusion. Dread it, run from it, destiny arrives all the same. Short men will take over very, very soon. And you can see it in early stages starting to happen now, but I'm saying short men are going to be meta, bro. We're going to be done with tall guys, bro.
I mean, he's sitting here acting like this is some kind of incredible advancement in the human evolution, that suddenly women are all going to want short guys and it's going to be a meta to be a short guy and blah, blah, blah. And here we are, like a month or two later, and everything is exactly the same as it was. Nothing has changed, and people aren't even talking about it anymore. What complete and utter nonsense. He must be kidding. Like, this must be a joke. I think it is. Now, this woman really makes a good point, because she's here saying that any guy under 6'4" is a short king. And honestly, I really believe that a lot of these girls joining into the great shift are basically saying, yeah, I'd be willing to date a guy under 6'4". That's who they think the short kings are, not actual short guys. Now here we have a woman who appears to be just hopping on the trend for views. She got 100K likes for lip syncing over this stupid audio.
Man, we homies. We ain't finna just let Montreal beat the brakes off you. We got your back.
This party's turned. What happened to my panties?
You understand I gotta leave you, right? It ain't personal. It's
But the point is that she's specifying below 6 foot man. And like, it's interesting that she thinks anyone below 6 foot is short, because we obviously know that like 5'8" to 5'9" is the average height of men in most of the world, you know? And this guy, his reaction says it perfectly, better than I've said so far. This whole great shift bullshit is just low-level virtue signaling to try and conjure up favor with men, you know, gain a following of simps. Not many of these posts are actually genuine. Now, one of the things that supports my idea that this is not even close to the same thing as the reversal of the height fetish for tall guys is that if you actually look into the comments of these posts from women and look at the comments left by women in support of this movement, almost all of them want a guy taller than them still. And a few are willing to go for a guy who's their same height, or actually want a guy their same height. I think I found one woman saying that she wants a guy who she can look eye to eye and just kiss, you know, face to face like that, and not have to crick her neck and, you know, have to have a guy bend down to kiss her. And I can see the logic there, but I cannot imagine thinking that way. I've got the same height fetish that most women do. I cannot imagine wanting someone the same height as you. That just, although, when I was younger and I actually wanted, thick, curvaceous women, I didn't mind girls my same height, but I preferred shorter. But the idea is that most of these women, it's not that they want shorter guys. It's that they want a guy who's no more than a few inches taller than them. And a lot of them actually had lower limits too. Like, I'm 5'4", but I prefer a guy who's between 5'7" and 5'11", but no shorter than 5'7". A few of them are willing to go down to 5'3", which is pretty astonishing, but all those women that are willing to go down to 5'3" are either 5'3" or shorter. Some of these women are even celebrating about this great shift phenomenon. And not for the reason you think. Not because they're happy to date short guys. Oh, no. They want less competition for them for tall guys, obviously. That's how 99% of women are looking at this whole thing. They're hoping that it's real so that they can have even less competition. Like this black British woman here, Pinky Pad.
Whoever started the great shift, talking about men's height, talking about, yes, your husband is 5'7", keep it going. You know what? Keep it going. I'm going to invest when the stocks are low.
I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but it feels like black women in the West are some of the most height obsessed there are. Maybe they're tied for white women. I don't know, but it's just something I've noticed over the time that I've done this, And some of these great shift women are still saying that they want a guy at least 20 centimeters taller than them, as if that's some kind of compromise, as if that allows them to take part in this great shift movement. Oh, I don't like a guy too tall, but I want him to still be 20 centimeters taller than me. Now here's a good example of the typical Foid participating in the great shift discourse. She's basically hijacking the whole movement to try and brainwash people into shaming women that are 5'2" for getting with a 6'5" guy. But the reality is, the reason why she's doing that isn't to help promote the well-being of manlets. It's to free up more of those tall guys for her. And then she goes on to say that the perfect height difference is when a girl's as tall as the guy's shoulder. I mean, come on, this has to be a joke. I guess you're still a short king if your girlfriend only stands up to your shoulder.
Some of y'all need to calm down. If you guys want to date extremely tall men where your height is the same height as their stomach, girl, you do you. I'm not here to condemn people for loving someone else, or create a new standard. Matter of fact, I was trying to push back the standard where the internet often glorifies extremely tall men. The whole point of the video was, as long as there's the perfect height gap, in my own personal unpopular opinion. Me personally, I date someone 10 to 20 centimeters above me. That's it. This way you can still give space for short kings in today's standard a chance.
Now there you have it. The great shift isn't about going from liking tall men to liking short men. It's about going from fetishizing extreme height to prioritizing the perfect height difference of 10 to even 20 centimeters. I mean, 20 centimeters is like 8 inches, guys. That's still a pretty big height difference. And it's not even about going from liking extremely tall men to preferring the perfect height difference. It's just the women that preferred that perfect height difference coming out to share their feelings. I guarantee you, not a single one of these women with a tall guy kink decided to switch themselves up as a result of this month-long internet trend. I mean, come on, guys. And don't get it twisted. A very large portion of these great shift women hopping on the trend, they want to make sure you know that, no, I don't actually like short kings. I just want a man who's around my height, and I'm 6 feet tall.
A lot of you have misinterpreted this video.
When I talked about my man being my height and that being related to the great shift, I'm not saying that my man is short because I am tall. I'm almost 6 feet tall. And so when I referenced my man being my height, I was talking about the fact that the status quo is that you're supposed to be with someone who's taller than you. A lot of women are like, I want my man to be like towering above me. I want to be like, no, I'm not really like that doesn't fucking matter to me, is what I was trying to say. I'm not saying that 6 feet is short. I'm just saying that like me not going for someone who's like 6'5" goes against the status quo.
Damn. You know, when I was looking at her, some of my old feelings about those thick, curvy girls started coming back up because she's pretty blessed, if you know what I mean. But yeah, she must have had her whole inbox just flooded from manlets, you know? To the point where she had to make a clarification video to make sure you know that she doesn't actually want you. She was just trying to get views. And she's not the only one either. Now, I should point out that not a single one of these women ever described actually being with a guy shorter than her. And the few who did never showed any proof whatsoever. Not in their video, not in their pictures, not on their profile. And they didn't interact with the guys in their comments either. Now here we've got a pretty hot goth chick who apparently is like 5'11" or 6 feet tall. I looked at her page, and not only is she a tall, attractive woman, but she's rich too. Like that's one of the things on her page. Like she lives in a mansion. She's literally a tall, rich girl. Like so many tall girls are rich. It's crazy.
You know, if you guys don't want your short kings, I mean, I'm right here. I will never date a man who is taller than me.
But like this girl is the closest we come to someone who genuinely seems to be more attracted to guys that are short because they're short. But we can't really confirm whether or not she's being honest with us because she claims that she's not a LARPer in this one clip right here.
Short kings, if you're watching this video, just know I appreciate you. I love you guys. I'm not a fucking LARPer.
But there's a pretty big market out there. Like there's a gap in the niche for attractive women claiming to like short guys so that they can get a bunch of simps swarming to their comments and boosting their views. So just because someone says they're not a LARPer doesn't mean they're telling the truth. But I'm leaning towards that she's actually being genuine here and she's just one of those rare outliers. But yeah, in that video about not being a LARPer, you can clearly see that she's trying to attract a certain audience to her page, and it makes me wonder if she's actually, subtly trying to build an OF following. She says she'll never date a man taller than her, but is she really telling the truth? And do we know if she just likes a guy who's around her own height, maybe a few inches shorter? Does she have a floor? Is she willing to date a guy who's 5 feet tall? The vast majority of these women do have a floor. They're not willing to date a guy under a certain height, even though they're making these claims. So it'd be nice if she specified. Okay, never mind. I don't know. I don't think I believe this Jules girl anymore. There's no evidence that she ever dated any short guy on her page, and she has a vested interest in getting lots of guys to think that they might have a chance with her. And how do I know that? Well, just look right here. That's how I know that. She's trying to reel you in to get the girlfriend experience, if you know what I mean. I ain't falling for that one. Now here's another 6 foot tall hottie saying, the great shift, short kings have always been it. And I went and took a look at her page, and if I remember correctly, she's actually confirmed as having a boyfriend who's shorter than her. So this girl might actually be one of the few genuine ones. And she's also the hottest, so I wish there were more women like this in the world. I wish I could meet them. Now this post is fucking stupid as hell. You really think that we're just gonna believe her and take her word for it? That she really thinks 5'6" is the new 6 feet? Saying short kings are back? When were we ever there in the first place? What is this back bullshit? And you know what? the fact that she's saying short kings are back, there's actually some merit in this, and I'm going to get to it later. But there's a cyclical pattern in this whole great shift trend. But seriously, do you really think that this girl wants a 5'5" king? The fact that she's saying hashtag the great shift kind of tells you that she's trying to just hop on the bandwagon here. And one of the reasons I feel that way about the vast majority of these women, even that hot goth chick, is because they don't interact with anybody in their comments. Like all these men, a lot of the short guys are pretty handsome, and they just completely ignore them because they don't want to give them the wrong idea, you know? They don't want to have a guy actually think that they have a chance and then slide into their DMs and annoy them with their attention. That's the reality of it. This guy says it perfectly here in the comments. This won't even last a month. And you know what? He was right. Because the whole trend is basically over now. I'm completely late to the party. And that's exactly how it went last time, too. The great shift, the last time it happened, which wasn't even that long ago, didn't even last 2 months. Now, while there were a lot of short guys out there celebrating, it's funny to me to think about how these guys were suddenly just lifted off their feet thinking that everything was just going to get so much better for them. And their reaction wasn't to actually go out and try and put it into practice and ask a girl out and see if it was real. It was just to post stuff on TikTok saying how great it was that suddenly all these women wanted them. And I think they knew deep down that it wasn't real. Otherwise, don't you think they would have gone out and tried? But the point is, not all of them were out celebrating. There were a lot of realistic guys out there like me who could see through the facade, who could understand that it's just a load of virtue signaling, LARPing, chasing attention. You know what I mean?
I got a DM from a girl I used to talk to saying that she wanted to give us another chance because her eyes had been opened from the great shift. For reference, this girl is 5'9" in heels, like 5'7.5" without. I'm 5'11". You're telling me that you would have never seen a future for us until your eyes had been opened to potentially dating me, 5'11", short king. That's ridiculous. So anyway, if any of you actual short kings want a real judgy as hell girl named Vanessa, DM me.
And K. Shami, he's pretty based. He was one of those guys that were, seeing through the mask from the very start. And he says so right here. But you see, a lot of people started making, really negative videos talking down on this whole great shift thing, thoroughly believing that there is no possible way in hell that any woman would want a guy who's not tall. They didn't take the time to deep dive into it and try and determine, are there any that are being genuine or are they all completely faking it? They just assumed that they're all completely faking it. And their comment sections were full of, nastiness, especially directed at the original girl who set off this whole trend. So the original woman, Kool-Aid or whatever her name is, she had something to say about it. And it really says a lot about how disconnected she is from the reality of our predicament.
I've been seeing myself everywhere, okay? I had to stop going to the comments of those videos because it's like, why are y'all calling me a gold digger? Go and look at the comments of those videos. They are being very, very nasty. It's really given like are short men that's insecure that they don't believe that women prefer short men?
I mean, there is a lot of truth to what she's saying, but she's looking at it from a negative point of view. If she really wants to understand and be a short king ally, then she shouldn't be surprised that we don't believe that she's telling the truth or we don't believe that any of this is real. Because yes, obviously, the vast majority of short men are very insecure about it. Unless they've snapped like me, but I'm an outlier. But that's not something they deserve hate for. It's something they deserve compassion for. Because obviously, we're not going to think that all of a sudden everything's changing and all of a sudden women are going to start liking short guys. It's conditioning. We have lived through a lifetime of being talked down to, being told how inferior we are, seeing and hearing women talk amongst themselves about, ew, he's too short. Oh, he's so handsome, but he's short, so I can't date him. Or, talking about how superior tall guys are, having even human language be biased toward height. In the media, short men being the butt of the joke, being treated as lesser, tall men being uplifted and put in positions of power and prestige, not only in our stories and in our media and games and whatnot, but in real life too. And being bullied by those same guys that women lust after. And then it just continues into the workplace, and it never stops. So how can you expect someone like that who's gone through nothing but being belittled and degraded their whole lives to not look at what you're saying with complete and utter skepticism and even potentially hostility? Because not only is it hard to believe from all the conditioning, but it's hard to believe because it goes against everything we know about human biology, about what attracts a female to a mate and, what benefits those secondary sexual characteristics provide in that situation. A woman naturally wants a man who's the best possible provider and protector, who can dominate the other men in the tribe and cement their position as at the top of the hierarchy. And it goes back to prehistoric times. Even this guy says it right here.
I'm a scientist studying human mating. Here's why women love tall men. First, energetically, as a mammal, it's just practically very difficult to grow tall. And so if you are tall, it's a sign that you were well-nourished and healthy during development. Second, height obviously has a genetic component. And since height is attractive, there is a circular benefit where women who select men who are tall are more likely to have tall sons who are more likely to reproduce themselves. Third, you have to consider that height is a real advantage in male-male combat. Sure, there are exceptions like Gervonta who beat up taller guys, but in Finlay's analysis of over 30 years of heavyweight boxing, he found that winners were, on average, taller than losers.
Now it's time we talk about the reality of the Great Shift being a cycle. As I mentioned earlier in the beginning of the video, this is a trend that doesn't stick around. Every time there's a great shift regarding height, everyone says the same stuff. Oh, our time has come. Finally, everything's looking up for us.
Hey, Dad!
The great shift is here, y'all. Take advantage of it while you can. Times like this do not come around all the time. If you're 5'9" and under, this is our time. This is our time.
And then all the tall guys go, what? My height is all I have, or I just got height surgery. But the last time this great shift happened was literally less than a year ago. Last December. I've got a post from last December here to show you, where apparently the exact same trend made its way across the internet. The Great Shift is a recurring TikTok ritual. It lasts maybe a month or two. And there's evidence of that. There's proof because it's happened before. Preferences do not change. Think about it yourself. What kind of woman are you attracted to? What's your type? How long have you liked this type of woman? Could you see yourself completely no longer being attracted to them and just shifting to being sexually attracted to the complete opposite of what you liked before? Do you think that's even within the realm of possibility of something that could even happen? Funny enough, that's exactly what happened to me when I snapped and went from liking thick, curvaceous, feminine women to tall, powerful, athletic, broad-shouldered women with big hands and feet. But I'm kind of a strange case. It took a lot to get me to that point of snapping. And I talk about it in my supervillain origin story playlist. I always link that in every video, basically. But seriously, let me know in the comments. Do you think it's even possible for you to, in reaction to some kind of internet trend, suddenly decide that, oh, I'm going to like the complete opposite of women that I currently like. Instead of women with small feet, I like women with big feet now. Or instead of wide hips, I like narrow hips. that's not something that happens, especially in response to just some social contagion on the internet. Like, come on, get real. You might hop on the trend to get some views, but you're not going to really be telling the truth, you know? And I think that's a logical way of looking at this. Because human biology, you know, we're instinctually programmed to be attracted to certain characteristics. And it goes against that to suddenly like the opposite. So everything your hormones and your ancient genetic programming tells you isn't just going to be undone by a bunch of people online telling you that it's time to shift, you know? If it does happen, like it happened to me, it'll be the result of extreme mental anguish and trauma, you know, building up over the course of many years. This one guy nailed it. It's a performative trend riding that comes around every few years. And another guy made the point that I just made about how it's biology, you know? The great shift is not possible because it literally fights against female instinct. So it never sticks. So yeah, women's preferences didn't shift. What really happened is that a small minority of women who always disliked men who are too tall came out of the woodwork to hop on a cyclical trend so they could get some views out of coming out of the closet about liking short guys because it's so overwhelmingly biased toward tall that so many women are obsessed with height that women who don't want the tallest men feel uncomfortable sharing that fact out of fear of being socially ostracized or made fun of because of it. Like, how overwhelmingly ubiquitous does an opinion have to be for people to be afraid to come out with it? Like, how small of a minority must it be? Because there are plenty of guys who like fat girls, and plenty of them come out with it on the internet. There are even some women out there with feeder fetishes, and you hear about it occasionally. But when do you hear about women with short guy fetishes? To be honest with you, I've been seeking that out for the last 10 years, and I still haven't found it. The few times I thought I found it, it turned out they were just baiting me for something else, like trying to reel me in so that they can spice up their life by using me as a comparison toy to make their tall, broad-shouldered, rich boyfriend look better by comparison and watch him dominate me so that she can turn around and be like, oh my God, you're so superior. Either that or they're trying to get money out of you or trying to get you to join their OF page. But yeah, none of these women actually changed their minds. They just finally spoke up. And the truth is, almost none of them actually participated. Like, very few women in the world actually participated in this trend. I mean, I scrolled through that stuff for a long time, and like 90% of it was just guys talking about it. If that doesn't tell you what all you need to know, I don't know what will. But the real story here isn't about the women. It really shines a light on us as short guys collectively. Not me in particular, maybe not you as an individual, but all the guys that just immediately fell for this and just dropped everything and thought that they were hot shit all of a sudden. Like, it really just shows how desperate we are to just hop on the tiniest grain of hope that we can find and run with it. It's really sad more than anything. It's either we immediately believe it and try to delude ourselves that we're somehow attractive now because of our height and that 5'7" is the new 6'4", or we completely dismiss the possibility entirely and call every single one of these women liars. But the truth is, it's somewhere in between. Of course, it's leaning more towards most of them are just doing it for attention end of things. But there are a few genuine ones, it seems like. At least one. But yeah, what did you think of this whole great shift trend, you know? If you had heard about it before, did you actually think that that's what was happening? Or were you, one of the people that had some high levels of critical thinking, realizing that, hey, this doesn't seem right, you know? I'd like to know what your position was in the comments. And if you're just hearing about it now, let me know your thoughts about why these women might have hopped on this, you know? So if you like this video, please hit that like button. It really helps me in the algorithm because Lord knows I need it. And if you're on mobile, try and use the hype feature, you know? Give me some of those hype points. Help give me a boost, you know? Because more people need to know about this stuff. And YouTube has been real stingy with the impressions on my channel in particular, because I like to expose a lot of the false hope and copes that society tries to get short men to fall for so that we'll continue running that hamster wheel and participating in their game, you know, for their benefit, using us as pawns and cattle, because that allows them to continue perpetuating height supremacy in our society across the world. But yeah, if you made it to the end of the video, let me know by commenting the word cope or adding it to whatever comment you already put so I can give my appreciation to those who helped me the most with that valuable watch time. So subscribe for more brutal truths and pilling stories from my life. And if you want more content like this, click on whatever video's here because YouTube decided that it's probably something you'll like. Thanks for watching, and I hope you stick around.